If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schafer, and Justin Andrews.
In this super special announcement version
Ooh, Easter eggs in here.
of Mind Pump. So for the first 45 minutes, we don't talk a whole lot about fitness, but we do our fun introductory part of the episode conversation. So we start out by talking about my daughter's unicorn pencil meltdown. It was good times at the DiStefano household last night. And, just what it's like to be a parent.
Oh, kids.
We talked about our staff member, Rachel, and her experience with Organifi's Pure. She actually drank it, worked out, and freaked out over how awesome she felt, contacted all of us, and it's like, what is in this Pure? It's pretty freaking awesome. And it is pretty awesome. Now, Organifi is the company that makes Pure. It's a nootropic supplement, but they also make other products like their green juice, which is for overall health, red juice, great pre-workout, gold juice for evenings and relaxation. Of course, they have vegan organic protein powders. Anyway, we got you a fat discount. If you go to Organifi.com/mindpump, and if you use the code MINDPUMP, you'll get 20% off. And then along those lines, Adam talked about how Four Sigmatic is having one of their only big sales of the year. Now, Four Sigmatic is the premier supplement company when it comes to mushroom-based products. They use a process that does both liquid water extraction, heat extraction. You get all of the beneficial compounds from mushrooms. These guys know their shit. My favorite product from Four Sigmatic is Cordyceps. I love the way it makes me feel when I work out. Well, here's what's going on right now. The sale is live now. Products are already up to 50% off. This is crazy. Here's the best part. If you use our code, you can slap an additional 15% off all of their sale products. So if it's 50% off, you'll add our 15% off. 15 plus 50 is 65. I can do math.
Whoa.
So again, they're our sponsor. If you go to Four Sigmatic, that's spelled FOURSIGMATIC.com/mindpump, and use the code mindpump, you'll get massive, massive discounts. Then I give my recommended supplement stack, and then here's the exciting thing. Adam has an incredible announcement.
What?
He's got a...
Wait for it.
What do they call it? A bun in the oven?
Oh,
Is that it? A bun in
Gonna
the
have to
oven.
find
You
out.
gonna give it away?
Gonna have to find out.
No, it's
Find out the gender.
super secret.
Yeah, find out what's going on. Then we get into the fitness questions. The first question was, what are our thoughts on the overhead squat? This is a very, very difficult movement. Do we ever incorporate it into our clients' workouts? Do we do them ourselves? What are the benefits? What are the risks? Should you be doing them? The next fitness question is, what are our go-to techniques to elicit long-term behavior changes in clients? If you're a fitness professional or a trainer, or if you yourself are somebody who's trying to change your long-term behaviors, there's a lot of wisdom in that part of the episode. I mean, collectively, we've worked with clients for, 40 years? More, 50 years. So great information there. Next question, if you build muscle with a certain amount of volume, is that the same amount of volume you need to maintain in order to keep your muscle? You might be surprised at the answer to that question. And the final question, this is a personal trainer. When they're meeting a potential client, like, how do I get them to hire me? Like, what do I say? What do I talk about? So we give some good fitness advice for all of you trainers and aspiring personal trainers on how to build your business. And if you're not a trainer, you'll like the communication tips that we give in there as well. Remember, effective sales is nothing more than just effective communication, and all of us can benefit from communicating better. Also, I'd like to share with you something that's pretty awesome. Our MAPS performance program is 50% off. So we designed this program to sculpt and shape a person in a balanced way. What we did basically is the avatar that we created, that we tried to create a program around, was a all-around, overall awesome athlete. So somebody who can run
Like
fast,
an American gladiator.
someone who can jump high, someone who's got lots of strength, lots of agility, somebody who's got lots of stamina. Like, what would that person look like? Well, they look very balanced. In fact, they would look like an ancient athlete, like those sculptures that you see of the Greek gods, where they have well-developed core muscles, muscular legs, strong shoulders and upper backs. That's how you're going to look if you follow MAPS Performance and you have a good nutrition protocol. But even more importantly, that's how you're going to move. You're going to build maximal strength. You're going to build incredible agility, strength, endurance. You're going to build the ability to move in different planes of motion. This workout is not a traditional workout. Lots of different exercises, lots of movements you're probably not familiar with, lots of movements that incorporate the entire body. It's a movement-based workout. It's a lot of fun, and it's 50% off. All you got to do is go to mapsfitnessproducts.com, use the code GREEN50, GREEN50, to get the discount. On that site, you can also get information about our other MAPS programs, and we have a lot of them, and they're all extremely valuable. Make sure you go check them out.
Tell me what happened last night with your daughter with the unicorn pencil.
God.
I was dying. I was dying laughing, telling Katrina.
Oh my
So
God.
how did it go down?
Well,
this is
so I go pick up my kids.
Life of a daughter, right here. Right?
It's
This
just
is,
kids,
This
bro.
is daughters. This is daughter shit right
it's
here, bro.
kids, bro. I go pick her up,
Yeah, there's some boy stuff
and
there too.
I pick her up, and
From school.
yeah, I pick them up from school, and they get in the car, and we're driving off, and we're, I don't know, like 3 seconds down the street. So I barely left the school parking lot. Oh my God. I'm like, what? And I'm looking in the rearview mirror, like, what's going on? I forgot my unicorn pencil. Turn around right now. Turn around. I'm like, listen, I said, calm
Middle of the freeway.
down. We're okay. Oh, I'm not going to do what you want me to do because you're freaking out. Calm down. Okay. Go get my unicorn pencil. I need my I said, we're going to go look, but if the door's locked, then there's nothing we can do about it, because I picked her up right when they are closing the doors, whatever.
Yeah.
So I go back and go up to the door. It's locked. Loses her mind. Loses her mind.
Over a unicorn
No,
pencil.
it's special to me. She's freaking out. And I'm like, I'm trying to calm her down. And I'm like, listen, you can't. And I said, I'm not going to listen to you if you keep freaking out.
Yeah.
So I said, and so she's like, so then it gets into the whole, because she's 9, right? So she's getting to the teenage, it's coming up. It's going to happen soon. To that teenage attitude. You ruined my life. You made my life so hard. Why do you ruin my life?
You left it.
Yeah, why don't you care about me? I can't believe you don't care about me. I'm like, I will get you 10 unicorn pencils on
I go to the
Amazon.
store right now.
Yeah, like, it's not a problem. Like, no, this one's special.
Yeah.
Freaking out. So I'm like, oh my God, dude. So I just left her downstairs, and she lost her voice. That's how long and hard
Wow.
she lost her mind for.
I've
So-
had that happen with a coat that my youngest left at Taekwondo, and they had closed shop.
Well, I
couldn't get it.
could be a little more attached to a coat, I feel
Yeah.
like.
I mean, he freaked out though. I mean, he was like just beside himself,
Bro,
I couldn't calm him down.
Yeah, kids
They just do that. Yeah, it's like getting this like thought process that they can't get out of.
What you're dealing with a kid a lot of the times is they're humans, so similar to you or I, except they're completely irrational.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
They don't have those governings yet.
Yeah, so it's like
how to
it's-
control that.
You're dealing with a crazy human being sometimes.
Right.
Not always, but sometimes you're just like, okay, there's no reason for you to lose your mind so much.
The development of
You're being
self-awareness
irrational.
isn't there
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, and then that doesn't work. So I tell her
I know.
that. I said, look,
definitely doesn't
I said,
work.
you're being completely irrational, and that's when she's like, you're ruining my life.
Yeah, they turn it right back on you. Like all
Yeah.
of a sudden, you're the one that did everything.
And I'm looking at her while she's losing her mind. I'm like, is this gonna be worse?
Now, does
Oh no!
when this goes down like this,
man.
does Jessica try and intervene, or does she just stay out?
Jessica is brilliant with kids, like very, very good with kids. So she comes home after,
She whispers in there, I'm
After
going to
my-
smack the shit out of you
Yeah.
if you don't keep
dude, old school.
talked about this.
There's like old school Sicilian.
I'm a
in
chick.
me.
I will whoop the shit out
Yeah.
of you.
No, dude. The inside of me is like, I want to, like, I don't know, destroy her property. Like, oh, you want to act crazy?
I'm going to smash your dollhouse.
You have nothing.
I'm gonna burn stuff.
Yeah, now you can cry. But no, I didn't do any of that. No, Jessica comes home after she's been, my daughter's been freaking out for a good, I don't know, solid 15 minutes in a row. And she sat down and talked to her. And now here's the part where everybody feels bad, right? She talks to her, has a good conversation with her. This is why she's like a child whisperer. And I come downstairs, and Jessica takes me aside, and she's like, today her friend told her she didn't want to be friends with her anymore. And then she took a test, and she didn't feel like she did very well on the test. So she said that she felt dumb. And, of course, now I feel like the biggest asshole in the world.
Right.
So I'm like, oh,
Right. There's all these other factors attached to that.
But at the end of the day, you freaked out over a pencil. So
Right.
no, I'm just kidding. So, but she does. Yeah, she does talk to her. So anyway, dude, did you hear what Rachel said about the Organifi Pure?
She tried it yesterday. She told me.
First time.
Yeah.
She's like,
She loved it.
she goes,
working out here too.
her literal words are, she goes, I tried the Pure. What's in that?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And of course,
Is this supposed to do something?
no, of course, Sal's favorite, and I watched you do this one for your birthday.
did you see me fuck with my cousin?
He loves because everybody comes to him for advice nutritionally.
Right.
So everyone
He abuses his
he
power
does abuse it.
sometimes.
He totally does too.
Yeah.
Now that I've been around long enough, I see it every time. Anytime he
I
said,
expect that now first.
"Oh, totally," like now it doesn't work with me because I've seen it and I know it's coming. Right, so I don't even waste my time asking him anymore because I know I'm gonna get I'm gonna get a scare fucking first.
I have
You know
to
what I'm
first check on the
What?
internet and then
You-
ask him.
You
Yeah.
took the small wrapper one,
yeah, that's what I told her.
bro. You're not supposed to.
Dude.
You know
how
what's
are
in-
you feeling?
you
Is
know
your
what's
heart
in there.
racing right
Yeah,
now?
yeah, right.
No, what did I do?
think so.
I don't remember what I did with my cousin. I think it was he asked me.
It was
for,
the charcoal.
Well, oh yeah.
It was the charcoal. We were all getting ready to drink, and he's like, I took those 2 pills you gave me, and you go, wait.
Did you take the black
what
one?
color
You took
was
the
it?
black ones?
Yeah.
No. You weren't supposed to take those. And he's like, huh?
Oh my God. What is it going to do? What's happening?
And I see it all happening. I'm like, you dick.
I told him, I'm like, that's got.
I'm like, this is your family. They still don't know you by now. Like,
Yeah.
I've only been around for 4 years, and I
That's
know.
why
how-
it makes, family, yes.
Oh,
you kind of have to do
my
that.
favorite is still to this day. Just thinking about it brings a smile to my face. My cousin, he FaceTimed me from the pool, and him and my brother are on the pool laughing like, yeah, we're having a great time. And then my cousin turns around and I see these circle hickeys down his back, and so I'm like,
you have to get them.
yeah. So I looked at my brother. I'm like, and I knew what those are. He had cupping, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but he didn't know that cupping makes those hickey marks on his back. So I said, hey, to my brother, I'm like, Joe, I'm like, what's on Alex's back? And my brother goes, huh? He goes, what is that? So he goes, Alex, you got something on your back. And my cousin Alex, who had the fucking cupping, didn't realize that that's what it does. So he turns around. He's like, what? And he's like, what's on my back? So now they're freaking out, and I know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm like, did you get any alternative health treatments recently?
He presents it like that.
Yeah. He's like, well, I did.
Certain parasites leave marks.
Yeah,
and
he's like,
rings
well,
like this.
he's like, I had cupping done on. I'm like, was it on your back? He goes, yeah. I'm like, did you take any herbs? He goes, yeah, they gave me some herbs and stuff. I'm like, holy shit, dude. I'm like,
Did a reaction.
yeah. So I'm like, I want you to take your pulse right now and count your pulse for 10 seconds, and then or for 6 seconds, multiply it times 10. Is it over 100? Now, of course, it's going to be over 100. He's already freaking out, right? Yeah. So he's taking his pulse. He's like, he goes, it's 120. I said, lay down. I said,
Oh my God.
yeah. I said, lay down.
Let me go get some water.
That might be a sign of some organ failure. Lay down. So now he's on his back.
Organ failure.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
So now he's on his back, and I told my brother, I said, put your hand on his stomach and put your hand on his chest.
Rub it slowly
I'm
in a circular
I'm like,
fashion.
help him belly breathe. Help him belly breathe.
Yeah.
I said, give him a second. And so they're freaking out. And then I just start cracking out. And they're fuck you, man.
That's so great.
Speaking of supplements, so Four Sigmatic's running this thing right now. So they only do this 3 times a year.
Oh, it's their sale.
Yeah, they're big sales. So they do this 3 times a year. This is one of the 3 times that they're doing it. And what's cool is for all of our Mind Pump listeners that already get a 15% discount, this is where they actually let you
Add it on, right?
Add it on. And they have stuff that's up to 50% off. And so if you
Dude, stock up.
yeah, so if you're already somebody who uses the Four Sigmatic products, you love all the stuff that they have, this is a great time to stock up on all their product because you get to add your 15% on top of the big sale they're already. And they have stuff running from 20 to 50% off on a lot of their products. So
So here's my stack. Here are my Four Sigmatic favorite things to use. I like to use cordyceps before a long workout. So I'll do cordyceps, and I'll mix that with a little bit of caffeine, and I notice much more stamina. Cordyceps also has a testosterone boosting effect in men with suppressed testosterone levels. It's an adaptogenic herb or mushroom, so it helps the body deal with stress. The other thing I like to use is the reishi at night. Very nice, relaxing supplement. And there are times when I combine the reishi with the Organifi. So now we're combining 2 supplement companies, right?
Yeah.
With the Organifi Gold Juice. and that's when I want like the best sleep.
When
so
were
good
you?
products?
You were on a kick for a while there with the matcha. When were you using that?
Matcha is because there's some caffeine in it. I'll
Yeah,
use that
pre-workout.
Yes, I'll use that for the
Now,
for the caffeine.
would you ever combine the matcha with the cordyceps?
Oh yeah. So here's why I like cordyceps. I like cordyceps because it's a non-stimulant, energy boosting type of supplement, but it's not the same as a stimulant. So when you take a stimulant, you get that like wired boost in energy. With cordyceps, you just feel more wakeful, and then when you start your physical activity, you feel like you have more stamina. So you feel it while you're working out.
I typically recommend it to the people because, and it's rare, but you do meet people that don't drink coffee and they don't like that jittery feeling, and so they avoid anything that gives you that stimulant. So they've avoided all pre-workouts. They don't drink coffee. They don't like anything, Red Bulls, things like that. I tell them that like this is a good thing to take before your workout because you'll like the way it makes you feel. It won't give you that.
Cordyceps made the news a while ago, and I think it was, I can't remember which Olympics it was. I want to say it was the last one that happened in the U.S., maybe. But anyway, the Chinese swim team,
I do remember this,
was crushing, and everybody was like speculating like what's
They're
going on.
starting to attribute it, because they all said that they were supplementing with it.
They
right?
said that they were using cordyceps as part of their protocol, so cordyceps kind of took off. But cordyceps is interesting. It's a fungus that grows on a bug. I believe it's like a caterpillar or something like that. It's a parasitic fungus.
Is that the one that turns them into zombies?
I'm not sure if it does. Yeah, no, there is one
a real
like that.
thing, yeah.
That'll literally, it's a parasite that'll control the mind of the insect and make it do shit to propagate.
Yeah, some of them do that, and then they'll get them to kind of go to a high ground. So, and then it basically presents. So, a bird will come eat it, and then shit it out, and then it'll keep continuing the cycle.
Well, you know that there's I forgot what parasite. Is it a parasite that's in cat poop or something in cat poop or urine that if mice get infected with it, mice they start to lose their fear of cats and get themselves closer to cats.
Yes, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Like it's literally moving.
So basically, they get high.
It's getting them to kill. No, it's getting them closer to get killed by the cat.
Right,
to
they
consume this.
aggressively go approach them, approach cats.
So it's like LSD.
They're
for
drawn
cats.
to cats. I think they're drawn to the cat pee smell.
That's it.
Yeah.
So think about it this way. This is how crazy this is, right? So here's a parasite whose life cycle is to spread to more cats. So one of the strategies is if it infects a mouse, the mouse then is attracted to cat piss. Therefore, another cat who may not be infected eats this mouse, gets infected, and the cycle goes on. What? How crazy is that?
Dude, parasites are fucking crazy.
Dude, there's
crazy
weird
organisms.
Shit. Well, I'm sure our bacteria fucking controls. I mean,
I know, right? You start thinking like that.
Well, they find that your gut microbiome can alter, besides how you feel, because now they're connecting it to things like depression, your mood, energy, sex drive, but also your food cravings. So if you like you have strong sugar cravings or strong carbohydrate cravings or strong cravings for certain types of foods, it might just be your microbiome trying to feed itself, which is kind of a weird thing to think about.
Wasn't that relationship with fungi and bacteria? Like that's one of those things. Like so, that's how they found, how they discovered like antibiotics and everything else.
Oh, with penicillin.
Yeah, it's just like that relationship's always been really interesting.
They fight each other.
So it's like, and that's why they're trying to advocate like ingesting and eating more mushrooms to kind of help to maintain that relationship.
Mushrooms
between
are
bacteria.
interesting. It's an interesting topic. I remember when we interviewed Taro from Four Sigmatic.
Really good episode for anybody that's curious about mushrooms at all, because I learned so much. Like when you talk about some of the episodes that we've done where like I felt like I was just absorbing information the entire hour or two, he was somebody like that, was just firing shit that like I'd never even heard before.
Dude, it's crazy because when I've always thought about eating vegetables, I always thought that I eat lots of vegetables, and so mushrooms are a part of that, but they're not their own.
No,
they're their own category. And you'll find in like Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine, they use lots of mushrooms. Mushrooms are another category of foods that you probably should consume on a relatively regular basis. They do provide certain things that you don't necessarily find in other foods. So, it was a really cool episode.
Yeah, you have to really like, go seek it and make sure that's part of your diet too.
Yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, I'd like to. So Adam. Dude,
let's talk about this.
So it's been announced.
What's up, dude?
Bro. Adam
It's
is
official.
Is going to be a dad.
My sperm work.
God,
It's official.
dude. Can I just say something before you? Because I want you to get into the
I
whole.
want to shoot like a little rocket.
I want you to get into the whole process, but I told this to Justin even separately after we found out that watching you go through the process of you went off all your gear, and I know that part of your motivation, if not most of the motivation, was so that you could have a child.
Right.
I saw how difficult that was for you, and I knew that would be tough. When your body goes from normal testosterone to none, that is a very, very, very depressing, difficult thing, just mentally. It affects your mental state. But you did it. You stuck to it, and fucking, you're blessed now, man.
Yeah.
It worked. And,
Yeah.
and I just want to say I commend you.
Yeah, the crazy
good
part,
on ya.
though, to be honest, is looking back now, and I'm glad it all played out the way it did, because we talk on the show all the time about adversity and going through those tough times. That's when growth happens. So a lot of growth happened in the last year of the torn Achilles and then the low testosterone and the battling with that. And so I'm grateful for all that. At the same time, what was crazy was, and a lot of people may not know this on the show, but it's been almost 2 years that Katrina and I have been unprotected. So we never were really announcing that we were, quote unquote, trying to have a kid, but we most certainly weren't trying to avoid it either.
You were just letting things happen.
Yeah, we're just letting things happen. We, I wasn't she wasn't calendaring it and going like, hey, today's.
So you weren't doing pull out or anything. You were just full on. Whatever. Okay.
Yeah. So we that's kind of how we've been for 2 years. And after about a year or so, that was when I decided to come off the testosterone, because then I thought it was kind of me. I was like, oh, fuck, we've been unprotected for a year now, and she's not pregnant. Maybe it's these, superficial doses of testosterone that I've been running for some time, and thought, okay, well, I'll do my part, and I'll come completely off, as miserable as I knew that was going to be, even though it was way more miserable than I would have ever anticipated. And I did. And then it's been over a year now. I think I'm on 13 or 14 months or more that I haven't had any synthetic testosterone. And that I scaled down. So, I didn't go from taking.
I'm glad you shared that, because you did try to go completely cold turkey at one point.
Right.
And then I ended up talking to one of my doctor friends, and they said, no, that can actually be dangerous. You want to slowly scale down.
Right. And I should clarify too, I didn't go cold turkey even then, but I went like a normal cycle where I'd run, and then I'd right afterwards do a 4-week PCT, and then I'm done. Where, you would talk to your doctor friend, and he's like, no, if he's been running for 4 years consistently, taper it longer. And so then I went and tapered for like 6 months. So really I had started the process almost, year and a half, 2 years ago when we first started coming down, and then I came completely off. But what ends up happening after about a year or so of us, not trying, and all of a sudden I start going like, fuck, man, is there something wrong with me? And she's starting to have the same questions. And so she's kind of going to the doctor and getting checked and everything, and getting her blood work, and she's coming in on a regular basis. And, they're telling her like, hey, I think you're healthy, you're fine, everything seems good. And so more and more the concern is coming from me. I'm like starting to think like, oh, fuck, we're going to have to go test me and see. And then one of the last, and this was back in end of October of last year, she goes in and the doctor says, well, we have one more thing that we can do. We, all your blood markers, things like that, you seem fine. You seem healthy. We don't see any problems with where you're at, but we haven't done an ultrasound to check your equipment. Let's do an ultrasound. Let's see what's going on inside there if we see anything. And they do that, and the doctor goes, oh my God, you have a softball size cyst on your ovaries. And he's like, are you not in pain? And she's like, no, I haven't felt any pain. I haven't had any problems. And he's all, judging by the size of this cyst, you've probably had it for 7 to 8 years. So pretty much the entire time Katrina and I have been together. And he goes, there's a good chance that your body is getting fooled into thinking that you're already pregnant. And so it's not allowing you to get pregnant. And he goes, we can remove that. I mean, obviously, it's probably a good idea if you're trying to get pregnant. even though you're not in pain, we should definitely get rid of it. And so she did. She went and had the surgery.
And is that where they do the laser surgery? Is
yeah,
that okay.
yeah. So, and she was fucking a lot of pain afterwards.
Yeah, that's not easy.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember. This was right before I took off with her to our. So if you look back at my Instagram, you can see the post of her and I at one of our favorite beach resorts that I can't think of right now. That's up in Carmel, and it was that weekend. That was the weekend after her surgery. So it was about 6-7 days later, and the first time that we had sex after she had removed the cyst.
Boom.
Bingo bango.
Right away. yeah, right away. So, and then
Crazy.
she let me know.
Now you knew, but you kept it. You didn't tell us for like 3 months.
So, I mean,
I understand.
Right. Everything that you read, everyone says like you should wait till the first trimester is over because of the risk factor of potentially losing the baby in that time. And so we had decided that we weren't going to tell anybody until that. And I didn't know that until we got pregnant. Then I started reading like, oh shit, we're not supposed to even I'm like, fuck, this is crazy. Yeah. I got to go the next 2 months hanging with the boys and hearing shit and then not say anything. This is going to be kind of hard. Right. And it was. And the biggest challenge that we had was on New Year's. So New Year's, we had scheduled already a week off in Tahoe with her family. And anybody that's been listening to the podcast for a long time knows that I've shared.
Her family can drink.
Yes. Her entire family is foodies and drinkers. Yeah. And they get together on a very regular basis. Fuck, we were just together the night before because her niece was in town from New York. And like I said, any excuse, and we were meeting a new boyfriend. So fucking whole family's over, huge dinner, drinks are poured. Like
party time.
Yeah, that's how they roll. And Katrina is like the lead. She's pouring the drinks with everybody, and she can drink me under the table. And so we're like, okay, we're going into New Year's with her family for 7 days, and there is going to be not as soon as we get there.
There's no way, yeah.
Yeah, how are you going to hide that?
We had to drive a separate truck for the alcohol. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a truck for the alcohol. Like,
so what did she say to them?
You're like, I got the flu.
Well, so what we agreed upon then was, so we let them know on Christmas. So they actually got to find out, her family found out when we were only like, I think on week 5.
Oh, because you're like, you had to tell them.
Yeah, because we're like, okay, we wanted to do something special for all the family members and kind of tell them, because everybody has been waiting. It seems like everybody has been waiting for Katrina and Adam to finally have a kid. I mean, we've been hearing that shit since the day we got together. And so we knew that everybody was going to be excited. We wanted to make kind of a big deal about it for our family, my mom, her mom, and brothers and sisters and shit. So we revealed it on Christmas. And what I will do, because I don't, those that know, I don't share a lot of my personal family life and Katrina and whatever. The forum, I'll share the video that, so I actually recorded the reveal to her family on Christmas, which was really cool. I
saw that.
Yeah, I get emotional. I get emotional every time I see it.
What when you found out? Because I'm assuming she went and did one of those at-home pregnancy tests.
Yeah.
What did it feel like for you? Like what went through your mind when you found out, and what are you thinking? A
little bit of relief and excitement at the same time. Like I was relieved because there was a part of me that because I was so anti not having a kid up until this point, that holy shit, I finally decided I want to and now I can't. Like how fucking shitty is that? Yeah. Because I never said when I was younger, in my 20s and early 30s even, I never said like I don't want to have a kid. It's like I didn't want to have a kid now. I've had personal goals where I wanted to be, and I expressed that since day one with Katrina. When she met me, it's like I knew I had my plan. Like this is where I want to be, this is what I want to do, and hopefully it's you and I, and that's the idea, right? So there was part of me that was this huge relief of, oh fuck, like thank God I can have a kid. Like that would really suck that because I was so adamant about waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, that all of a sudden then when I decide, okay, it's cool, now I want to, now I can't, like that kind of freaked me out a little bit. So there was definitely the relief, and then an excited, man. I really I couldn't be happier about the timing, where I'm at in my life, the partner that I chose. I'm super pumped, man, to raise this kid. And it's neat too, because I'm watching my two best friends who are going through it right now with their kids. And I've got, of course, a million people when this happens. Like everybody's telling you
advice
and this and that. And one of the things that I don't say anything to anybody because I appreciate everything. I appreciate all the books that have been sent my way. I appreciate all the advice. I would never turn any of that away. But I think a lot of people forget, and Trent, Josh Trent dug into this with me when he interviewed me on his podcast way back when. And he said something to me that resonated because I'd never really thought of it like this way. Because, everyone always asks, why haven't you had kids yet? And I really do feel like I've been parenting most of my life. And of course, it's fucking different when it's your child and that love. And I'm not comparing what I've gone through to what it's like to be a parent for anyone else. But, I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and there's a major gap between my 2 youngest brothers and sisters. There's 14 years apart. So I was a teenager when they were babies being born. And, my mom was definitely not one to not leave us with them. Like my mom worked and did things. And so very early on, like I'm, burping the baby, I'm changing diapers, I'm heating up formula, and helping raise these kids with my mother. So I'm very comfortable with all of it. And I'm reminded of that when I see my 2 best friends who are the opposite, the youngest in the family, boys. They didn't have any younger siblings around or cousins. And I can see them with the baby and stuff. I come in and I'm like, whoosh. It's like, it's
easy.
it's
grab
easy.
like a football.
Right. It's very easy for me. And then we have like Katrina's family, who's a massive family. Everybody's so excited to be a part of the kids' family.
You guys are surrounded by a lot of people.
a lot of help and support. So there's no nerves for me.
Oh, you just wait till you see me around a baby.
No,
I love them.
I can imagine. So I'm excited, and I know that we'll do a hell of a job.
All the like the what to do, that kind of stuff. I mean, you'll learn that, and people will teach you, and that's not the hard. I think the hard stuff is just the emotional stuff that the growth that you get from having a child, the way it changes your perspective of things. I'm sure your perspective of things has already changed, and you don't even have a baby.
No, that's a good point. Yeah. There's some things that it's pretty funny. Katrina and I got into our first little tiff or whatever since then, and it was all me for sure. I mean, it's my fault. I feel this urgency. So Katrina and I have, we've put ourselves in a nice position where we have a joint account, we have a joint savings account together, and then we also have our separate accounts. We both are make enough money that I don't have to fucking police her finances. She doesn't butt into my finances. We agree that we need X amount to pay our bills, and we have our savings together, and then what else ever doesn't matter. Well, that's when we didn't have anybody to take care of. So I didn't really think about any of that shit, where I felt that switch over real quick already. Like the way my brain just works is like all the expenses that are coming up. I want to be ahead of things, like saving for the kid. Like I'm fanatical with that shit. And so now I'm like, what did you just buy? What did we pay for? You covered what for your mom? Why? I don't understand why we paid for that. And so I would never do that. Like, it's your money. Go spend it however you want. But now it's like, now I look at it like, no, this is all of our money now. Now I want to know everything, and I want to be. So I've caught myself kind of doing that. But what's awesome about her is that even though there was like a little tiff, and the tiff was probably the way I approached it, she's supportive of all that. I mean, she agrees, and I definitely think that won't be a problem.
Yeah, the crazy thing for me with my first, because the first is that's your first, right? So you kind of have no idea what to expect and anticipate.
Yes, the unknown.
And what was weird to me, actually not weird, is just fascinating, is right now Katrina's pregnant. She's got the baby inside of her. She's already building a intimate connection and bond with the baby. For you, because you love her so much, you also have this kind of bond, but it's kind of an abstract thought, right? Like, okay, I see your belly growing. I know there's a baby in there, but it's kind of this abstract thing. You don't have a connection,
right?
A physical connection like she does. You can't hold the baby, touch it. You could just see this growing belly. And so what happened to me when I went through that process was like all that, and then when the baby was born, it was like a ton of bricks hit me. Boom! Yeah. Oh shit! I have this.
This is a real thing.
A human that I'm responsible for. And it was crazy. And then I remember, and I did this with both my kids, of course, you just watch them. It's really weird. Like they're sleeping, you're just staring at them like, oh my, this is insane. I can't believe I can love something so much. And then you love them more. And then you love them more. And then you get scared because you love them so much. Like all of a sudden, and this is a good thing, I think. It sounds like a scary thing, but it's actually a good thing. I realized how invincible I was before I had kids. Now I'm so vulnerable. But that's also what makes me, I think, a better person now.
Yeah.
You know, and the growth that comes from that.
I would totally agree with that. It definitely brought to light a lot of other factors where it's like you sort of ignore a lot of things and you take a lot more risks in terms of like just with my own health or how hard I'm pressing. And, you know, like I just start thinking about like what's going on in the world. I was never into politics, you know, I was never into like so many things, but now I pay attention because I'm like, how is this going to affect the way he grows up and, you know, and his brother and what do these policies mean? And it's like, all this shit just like becomes more real.
Well, it's our legacy, right? So you figure, you know, I'm only going to be on this earth for another, you know, 50 years or so if I'm lucky, right? And you know, at that point, they are you moving on, you know. So I think you feel that instantly. I mean, the moment that I know it's coming, and then
you're gonna make a great father. I told you that I don't know, 2 months after we started working together. I told you you'd make a great father. I think Katrina will make a great mother. Are you telling everybody that you know the gender, or are you keeping that like a secret?
No, we revealed the gender. I actually posted the name yesterday on Instagram, so everybody knows now.
So you're having a boy.
Yeah, that was that was funny. That was a really
bro, the gender reveal video you sent.
I love the little like yes, like the
Well, there was like the home joke, right, with Katrina and I that I used to tease her that when we were, you know, trying, right, or whatever, and I would say if we have a girl, man, I'm gonna return it. She gets so mad at me. Don't you say that? Don't you say that? I'm like, you know what I mean. You know, I would never do that. I would love my, but there's this part, and I think for me, it's probably
there's a little bit of a fear I think some men have with a little girl. You know.
Well, not only that, I don't want more than two. Okay, so I don't want more than two kids for sure, and you know, if I had one girl, then there's a chance I could have another girl, and then I never have a boy
to continue
and I think for me with losing my father and the lack of the relationship I have that, and there's not a lot of Schaefer men in my family, I wanted that really bad, and I feel like I was responsible for so many years of my life to not have it when I was a child and not raise some shitty kid, that I needed to grow and be at a place that like I'm going to pour everything into this kid. And you know, selfishly, there's a part of me that wanted to be rewarded for that. Like I want to give me my boy, you know, give me my boy that I can pass my legacy down to, and I could pour everything that I've learned over all these years. And, you know, because I was responsible and I didn't pop it out when I was 19 or 20 years old, when I probably was still a child myself. I waited till I was a man. And not to say that I don't have a lot to grow and a lot more wisdom coming down the road, but I do feel like the place that I'm in right now, that I'm going to be a hell of a lot better of a father than had I would have had it when I was 25 or younger. Yeah. So yeah, there's a part of me that like wanted that so bad. And so if I would have had a girl, I don't think I would have been disappointed. I think I would have loved it no matter what. But the excitement of getting the boy was like, I was fucking pumped.
Yeah. It's cool too when you have your kid and then you see like similarities between them and you when you were a kid.
Right. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that can be really cool. It's cool because like there's certain things I was insecure about as a kid that I see in my kid, but I love it in my kid, and yet I was insecure about it, and it actually helped me deal with my own insecurities with myself. Like, well, how can I love him for being how I was and hate myself for being that way? That doesn't jive. It doesn't connect. It doesn't make sense. And it helped me deal with my own thing, because when you love something so much and realize it's a part of yourself, I think you can connect that to yourself and then start to love yourself in that same way. Right. But I had my kid, I had my kid a lot younger, but that's fun. You're in for it, bro. You are in for.
It's exciting, man.
You are in for it. Like, of course, all the bad shit, like the lack of sleep and worry and all that stuff.
I'm weather the storm.
Yeah. I'm curious about that because I'm not going to lie, and I haven't said anything about it because I know everybody's waiting to jump all over me. I have my two best friends who they haven't slept in like 6 months, they claim, and shit, and they're just like, oh, just wait, dude. You're going to get fucked up.
You might be lucky. You might get the...
Well, and then I was talking, so yesterday we had the family party, stuff like that. We had one of our good friends. She's got a 3-month or a 4-month-old right now, and baby's just fucking amazing, right? and I'm talking to her and stuff, and I'm like, it's so funny because it's like I feel like there's a 50-50 I see with the kids, and she goes, you know what? She goes, if your kid will be a reflection of you, and she goes, when I see parents that have the kids that just fucking destroy me, a lot of times it's because they're young, they're nervous, the baby feels that energy. That's the only way they know how to communicate, and so. She goes, you and Katrina? She goes, are you kidding me? She goes, watch, you're going to have a baby that's so fucking chill. And I believe that. I believe when a baby is really young, like I look at my best friend, and I love my best friend, but I could see him like challenged right now. Like when we go over to see the kid, his baby daughter, the daughter is so attached to the mom, like you were saying, because that's just natural. They've built that bond, comes out, and she hoards her. And he's nervous, so he just so he's hands off so much. And so then the baby starts crying. You could even see the way he's like bouncing her and trying to get her to calm down. I'm like, give me the fucking baby, bro. Here, relax. Like it's some people just have, they're learning that. Yeah, and if you're learning that and you've never learned it, you can't tell me that a baby doesn't feel same.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. My kids, compared to the stories that I've heard of other kids, did very, very well. That being said, kids just don't sleep like adults do. They wake up in the middle of the night.
That's during the day.
Yeah, right. You got to change your diaper. They're crying. They're very, very, very needy. Obviously, they're
right.
It's a fetus outside of the body. So from a time perspective, you just don't have, a lot of your time is occupied.
There's things like colic and jaundice and all these things I had to go through, my kids, and it's just like part of the process. You know, you just get through it.
But I sent you guys both two videos. One was the documentary on the whole birth process.
Right, we watched that
in this country, and how the C-sections are exploding, and I thought that was just such an illuminating documentary. And then I sent you another one about I think they call it attachment parenting, which I thought was really smart. And it was I think it was Dr. Sears, if I'm not mistaken. Is that a familiar name, Doug?
Was this the article on just how back in the days we used to have the babies like attached to us 24/7?
Yeah. So what he says is human babies are born way earlier than they should be, and the reason for that is because we walk upright. The female's pelvis is much narrower, and humans have massive brains, massive heads. So the baby has to be born at a particular time, otherwise it's not going to come out. So it's born and it's totally useless compared to other mammals. Like a lot of animals are born, they can walk.
A horse or a cow, or it comes out and they're walking day one.
Right. Yes. Or like a little monkey will come out, cling to its mother's fur, and then it's stuck on the mom, and she can walk around, or she can climb trees and shit. Human babies are totally worthless because they're still a fetus. And so part of the theory is like, look, when first of all, when babies cry in the middle of the night, for most of human civilization, most of the time we've been on Earth, a cry in the middle of the night is a fucking dinner bell for predators. Like if we're all huddled in the cave and we're trying, because sleep is a very vulnerable time for humans, and there's a lot of nocturnal predators that eat humans. And you don't want a baby to cry in the middle of the night. You might as well just be like, hey, I got food here. It's a helpless little baby that you can eat very easily. So we probably didn't let our babies cry that much. And babies probably didn't cry that much because they were always on mom. Mm-hmm. And so the theory is that the mom we would create these slings or whatever, which you see in a lot of modern hunter-gatherer societies where these mothers will put the baby in a sling and the baby's just riding on mom all day long. Now, mom is because they're hunter-gatherers, is working all day long. So she's out picking, she's doing stuff, she's getting water, she's preparing things or whatever. The baby's just on mom the whole time. And when they follow these societies, they find that the babies just don't cry that much at all. The baby's there, and when the babies are on mom and they want to eat, many times they just reach up, grab the breasts, and feed. And so he's saying this is a much more natural process. There's also, so you can see pictures right there. Yeah. And so in modern Western societies, what we've done is we've separated the baby from the mom, and that causes a type of anxiety because the babies become in sync with the mother. They become in sync with the mother's breathing, the mother's pulse. They find too that there's even some theories to suggest that some of these terrible things that happen with babies were like SIDS, where they just stop breathing. Some people say that the mother's exhale and the mother's body temperature helps signal the baby's body when to breathe. So when you remove the baby, so that article I sent you guys and documentary is all about that. I thought it was absolutely
Do you know who
fascinating.
came up with the cry it out theory? Like who popularized that?
No, that's a kind of a Western theory where you teach it. Now here's the other part of it is that you also have to look at life. And
the adversity that life throws you when you get older, and then the cry theory, Justin, is like teaching the kid to be independent at a very young age, and so they're not so dependent on a mother because it's a different. Well, we live in a different civilization.
That's true, but what he says, what they talk about is that the first, I forgot what it was, like year. Or maybe 6 months or a year are formidable. After that, then you start to teach a little bit more independence. But what I'm talking about is life also means you want to maintain a good relationship with your spouse. So if baby is strapped to mom 24 hours a day, how is she going to feel about that? How's the relationship going to be?
Right.
Is it realistic?
Strain, the relationship between you and your wife.
Yeah, is it realistic? Maybe she has to work and all that stuff. So. But it was fascinating to look this up and read it and stuff like that.
I'm really curious to see how everybody tells me that she'll change when that happens. We both will, obviously. I'm curious to see because she's in a position where she doesn't have to work and she loves to work. So I'm really curious if that switches over. She was raised.
If she's going to not want to work.
Right. I'm just and I'm staying out of that. I have my own personal what I would selfishly like. But I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna tell my girl that she has to do anything. She can do whatever she wants to do. And I know that she was raised by a mother who worked full time, built a business while she was raising her, and so, Katrina and her looks at her mom like the queen, and so I think she wants that herself too.
Well, let me ask you this: do you guys have? Is grandma available?
Totally.
Okay, so
grandma, aunts, are cousins
makes a huge difference. Yeah. One of the theories as to why women go through menopause, where they literally their bodies can no longer become pregnant, is because of the importance of the role of the grandmother. And many anthropologists think that the grandmother played such a major role that they evolved to not have children anymore so that they could help with the child rearing of her daughters and her sons and stuff like that. So that's probably one of the things I'm most excited, which makes it even less fear or reluctancy going into this at all, is that, we literally have her family, my family, all live really close. And excellent.
And you saw in the video, right? Like just how excited they are to have the kid. I mean, it's going to be like a fighting frenzy over who gets to have him next or have him around, and which is exciting for us as parents because Katrina and I do a lot of stuff, and that was one of the things why we waited as long as we did is because, her and I travel a lot and have lived a very selfish life of spending money on ourselves and doing a lot of cool things. And, and she really doesn't want a lot of that to stop. I've told her we'll see when we have a kid, a lot of this shit's going to slow down. You'll see. And she's like, "Nah, we've got family. I don't want to stop that stuff. I want to be able to still do a lot."
That's a good, healthy attitude,
right? I'm excited. I'm excited she has that attitude. She's got that attitude. I'm all for it. I'll support it if we can make it happen. And she believes that we've got that family network that wants to be a part of the kid's life so much that we will be able to heavily lean on family to be able to, hey, we're going to take off for 4 or 5 days. Could you guys obviously in the first year or whatever like that, that's probably not very likely. But as he gets into 1 and 2 and 3,
well, you got some babysitters in here.
Yeah, it's very helpful to have family like that. Reaching out and getting you out of it. Like it's just good for your relationship too.
Yeah, we'll watch the baby.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We're professionals.
No.
He'll come pick up your little boy, and he'd be like,
I tell you twice.
I tell you what, if you're a young guy and you're listening right now, my advice to you, and I think it's going to pay off very well for me, is that I have just an abundance of help and wisdom that's around me, being a 37-year-old that's finally having a kid, that I don't have that. Like I can't imagine being 22 and the first one having the kid, and how you're just figuring panic. You're figuring it out all on your own, where it's I don't feel that way at all. I think it's going to be my biggest headache, to be honest, is actually shutting everybody the fuck up. Like, I think there's gonna be so many people wanting to help and wanting to
that's always a problem.
Right? Yeah, I could already feel,
especially
like,
during labor, you gotta like push family members out. Oh, I had to go through.
You just wait, dude, till you get the aunts and grandmas. Like, no,
I want to be in there.
Yeah, no,
like, no, you're not allowed.
I'm grandma. I can give them candy all the time if I want or whatever. Like, oh my god.
Yeah. So I am worried about that. If there's anything that I'm worried about, it's actually that. It's that I'm going to have so many people that are going to be wanting to be a part of his life that I'm going to have to be like, okay,
that's a better problem.
I can't wait to teach this kid some Italian words. You're going to pick him up from my house. Hey, what's up, buddy? And he'll be like, Papa, vaffanculo. Vaffanculo. What did he say, Sal? He says he loves you. Don't worry about it.
Today's Squad is brought to you by MAPS Anabolic. If you're looking to maximize your overall muscle and strength, MAPS Anabolic is the perfect place to start. With a full 30-day money-back guarantee, there is absolutely zero risk. So what are you waiting for? Go to mindpumpmedia.com and get started today.
It's the motherfucking Quad.
The eagle has landed.
Qui-qua.
Our first question is from JM Wardle. Thoughts on the overhead squat? Have you ever incorporated it into your or your clients' workouts? How much carryover does it have for traditional back squat or front squat?
Oof.
Do you know what? I don't know if I have programmed this for a client.
I never have.
I don't think I have.
No.
I don't think I've actually programmed for a client. No. I have myself done this and worked towards this, but to be honest, very few people have the mobility to perform an overhead squat really well. That's a very difficult exercise to do right.
It would take a lot of specialized, and what I mean by specialized is, when I train a client, I'm looking at improving lots of general mobility, improving lots of general performance. When I'm training an athlete, it's much more specific, right? So if I have a sprinter, I'm working some on general performance, but then I'm working a lot on specific performance to improve their performance in the sprint. An overhead squat would require a lot of specific type of training to get someone to the point to be able to perform that movement safely. So if I took the average client, I'd have to first get them through all the general stuff, and then I'd have to really focus on specifically getting them to do an overhead squat. Not saying it's not impossible. Yeah. It's definitely possible with a healthy person. It's just I don't know how much carryover or how much benefit they would necessarily get from it.
I'm just, as a coach, always evaluating risk versus reward, and I think this is along those lines of like, okay, does it have that kind of carryover you're looking for to attribute towards performance on the field? Are there other alternatives that might lower the risk in terms of injuring my athlete or promoting problems further down the road? And so for me, like I flirted with the idea of teaching this to some athletes, but really I didn't see a whole lot of reward from that particular exercise other than somebody trying to learn an overhead snatch. And I didn't have any clients that really were trying to pursue that very specific skill. Other than that, because even if there's lots of reward from promoting like a power movement and Olympic lift, like an overhead snatch, but you can do that with a dumbbell or a kettlebell or something else that the risk factor goes way down with that.
I do want to say that if you have the mobility, which an overhead squat requires incredible ankle mobility, incredible hip mobility, incredible shoulder, incredible thoracic mobility. Like you kind of have to have it all.
You have to have a really good complete package.
The entire kinetic chain is stabilized on command.
Right. So if you do have all that, I think it's a great move to incorporate in your programming. So if I did have somebody, like let's say I got like a 17-year-old, probably a young teenager that's an athlete and that has incredible mobility. Let's say I have, even though that they're actually hard to find even these days. But let's say I have someone like that. What I like about the move is that if you were to keep it into your routine when you already have that really good healthy mobility, it'll help promote that mobility and keeping that mobility for a long time, because it's kind of like I posted a video of me doing the band pull-aparts, but I do it in a deep squat. Mm-hmm. Now, I couldn't start there. I had to work on the ankle mobility. I had to work on the hip mobility.
You had to be able to sit in the squat.
Right. Yeah. I had to be able to sit in the squat. So now that I can sit in the squat, now what's kind of cool is I can work on my thoracic mobility. At the same time, I'm promoting good ankle mobility and hip mobility because I've worked on that so much, all in one move. So somebody just asked about that exercise, and that's why I do that. Is now I don't have to spend. I used to have to spend 10 minutes on combat stretch, spend 10, 15 minutes on the 90-90. But now that I've done all the work to get reconnected to all those muscles and to improve my mobility, now I can actually go into a single move like that. And that's my warm-up now.
Yeah, that would be like the pinnacle example of like your entire body is supported and mobile. Like that would be like something where I could show off. Like I put in all the work, shoulder mobility-wise, thoracic mobility-wise, hips, ankles. Like the entire chain is solid, and I can perform this exercise.
Yeah, the big benefits I can see from this movement are being able to maintain strong stability in your entire body as you're squatting, being able to connect good hip and ankle mobility to good thoracic and shoulder mobility, because I get a lot of benefits from doing overhead carries. Now I'm walking, I'm not squatting. So if I take a kettlebell, or I've done this with a barbell too, where I'll press a barbell up above my head, hold it real steady, maintain good tension, and then do a very careful braced walk. I get lots of benefit in my shoulders, in my upper back. I've actually noticed muscle growth and strength as a result of maintaining that end range of motion tension. Part of the reason being, I trained so long, like bodybuilder style, where I didn't even lock out with my dumbbells, or I wouldn't focus on that. So now I'm focusing on that part of the rep that I don't normally focus on, and that's all I'm focusing on while I'm moving. But a squat while holding a weight above your head now connects the lower half of your body, challenges that mobility at the same time as your upper body. I mean, I'm in the firm belief that if you can do something well, then it's okay to do, and it's perfectly safe. And if you want to maintain that ability to do it, you need to practice it. So to the example of Adam gave of the 17-year-old kid that's fit and athletic and can do this, if they want to keep it, then you got to keep practicing it. Because I will say this, it'll go away if you don't. If you don't practice this movement, you won't be able to do this movement forever. It's a challenging exercise, and it requires lots of practice.
Even then, and I fully agree with the overhead carries, like which I perform all the time to be able to maintain those abilities, but I do those with independent like tools, so dumbbells or kettlebells versus a fixed bar, because as I'm walking over, like one is going to affect the other, and just that little bit of torsion could really fuck your back up. Yes, and so that's like a whole nother level of extreme where I don't do like overhead walks with a barbell.
Here's a good replacement. If the sound of stabilizing your shoulder and your upper back along with working on some hip mobility, so working the upper body in a tension position while working the lower body through a full range of motion, if that attracts you and you like that challenge, but you've never done any type of an overhead squat type movement, here's a good replacement that you could do pretty much anywhere. Hold a kettlebell or a dumbbell above your head with one arm, and then do some walking lunges. Start really, really light. Start with a really, really light weight, 5 or 10 pounds. Just maintain that tension, keep everything real straight and strong, and then do some walking lunges going forward and back, and then switch arms and practice that. And you'll get some similar benefits, not nearly as challenging as an overhead squat, but you will get some challenge. Start there, and then if you want to take it another level, then you grab a barbell, and now you do walking lunges with a barbell, and then if you want to take it to the next level, now you hold a dumbbell above your head and try and squat, and then you can progress to the barbell. And then, of course, all in between is all the mobility work, all the handcuffs with rotation exercises, the combat stretch, all the prone cobra movements, the loosening exercises, the dynamic warm-ups,
just
the priming.
Practicing it constantly with, like a dowel bar over your head and creating your own internal tension.
And take your time, because even myself, I think, okay, I know what to do with my body. I was practicing exercises like windmills and overhead carries, mainly because I need to work on that type of mobility. And I went a little too far, too fast, and I caused shoulder impingement issues on my right shoulder. I had to back way the fuck off. Couldn't do anything like that for a couple months. And then that set me back, and I had to get back into it. And so it's an easy pitfall to get in, where you're challenge yourself too fast.
I just think, too, if I were to just walk in almost any gym, grab 10 random people, and have them perform a squat for me, just a basic barbell squat, I mean, what do you think? What do you think of those 10 people? How many of them would actually be able to perform a barbell squat?
10 random people?
Yeah, random people.
I don't even think one would do it right.
I mean,
it depends on the gym.
It depends.
Right. And really though, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's rare that you even find somebody who's got just. I mean, when I see it, I actually will either walk over and say something like
it's rare.
I'll compliment somebody in the gym. I'll take my headphones off, walk over to someone if I see a beautiful squat. It's just rare. It's a very hard thing to get in a very deep squatted position and have no breakdown in the kinetic
How funny
chain.
is that too? Because it's such a fundamental human movement, but because we don't do it ever.
Right.
Like think about everyday life. When do you do a full squat? You don't. The closest you get is when you sit down on the toilet or in a chair, and that's not even a full squat. So you just never do it. You never do it. Yeah. Now take that and multiply it times 100 or maybe even 1,000, and now you have the overhead squat. Like, that's literally the difference in difficulty of application is a regular barbell squat. If that's a 10, then an overhead squat is 100 or 1,000 in terms of difficulty. Just that much more.
Exponential risk factors.
Definitely.
The next question is from the Real Mad Mason. What are your go-to techniques to elicit long-term behavior change in clients?
I like the way it's worded.
Yeah.
Because when you're, as a trainer, I learned this. It took me a while to learn this as a trainer, by the way. This wasn't something that you learn in your certification classes, or it's kind of something you learn through experience. What you're really doing, if you really want to help that person, is you're trying to change their behaviors, their permanent behaviors. That's what you're trying to change. So think of any permanent behavior that you have yourself, and now imagine if you changed it completely for the rest of your life. Is that going to be easy? Of course not. It's a very, very, very difficult thing to do. And so the big mistake I would do in the beginning as a trainer, my first years as a trainer, would be I had the answers. So, okay, you want to lose weight? I know exactly what you need to do to lose weight, and it's as easy as doing what I have to tell you. Just follow my direction, and you'll lose weight, and then we win, and you succeed. And that didn't happen. You know, sometimes I'd get clients that would do exactly what I told them, and they would lose weight, but there were no permanent behavior changes, and so they would end up going right back to where they were before. And then a lot of times people didn't even do exactly what I said, because it literally would include completely changing their diet, throwing in 3 to 4 days a week of exercise, changing how you sleep, like all these major changes all at once, which humans we don't change our fundamental behaviors long term that way. It just doesn't work.
No.
Really, there's really 2 ways that people will make a fundamental change in how they behave. One way is through the epiphany process, which is extremely rare. This is an extremely rare process. So I'll give you an example of how an epiphany might actually happen for someone. Let's say you're a man in your 50s, and you're working hard, and you've got some kids, and they're young, and you got a wife at home, and you're real stressed, and you need to work out, and you need to change your diet, but whatever, I'm just trying to bust my ass. And then you get a fucking heart attack, and you wake up in the hospital, and everybody's around you, and the doctor's like, you were within inches of losing your life and never being able to see your family again. That might be enough of an impetus, and many times it's not, by the way, but that example might be enough of an impetus for somebody to look and be like, that's it. I almost lost my family. Yeah. I need to make major changes, and that's it. I'll never go back again. And that's extremely, extremely rare. So that will not happen with your clients. You are not going to give your client a fucking epiphany. I don't care how motivating and charismatic you are or how awesome you are.
Yeah, they're going to find it themselves.
You're just not going to do that for them. It ain't going to happen. So forget that. The other way that humans make fundamental long-term behavior changes is the way that most of the changes that we make happen, which is a little bit at a time.
There's the key.
It's one step that is challenging but realistic, and then you stick to that, and then that becomes a new behavior change, and then you move to the next one, and then that becomes realistic and challenging, but then it's realistic, and then you do that one. And what happens through that process, what you'll notice with your clients is they build confidence the entire time. So whereas in the beginning it was, okay, let's avoid soda on Tuesdays, and then the next thing becomes, okay, now you're going to avoid soda every day, and then the next thing becomes, cool, now you're not eating processed sugar. And before you know it, your client starts taking bigger and bigger steps, but this process takes years. It's the bottom line.
The real game of it is to see like what you can get them to adopt and then retain. And so whatever concept I'm throwing at them, like it has to be realistic. It has to be something that's very very simple to where it's not, I'm not overbearing them with a ton of different objectives. Like I had to learn that process because like what is on paper and where we want to go and all these different types of goals that we want to accomplish are definitely, valid. And that's something that we can all shoot for. But to get you there, like when it comes to experience and training people over and over, you start to realize like what has had the most impact and has been the most subtle thing that I could provide this client for them to be able to really understand it on their own and like come to the conclusions themselves. It's like, how do I teach them something that they're like, it changes the way they think to where they're like, wow, and it clicks. And now we can get further and dive deeper and go as we get into this. But like really it's trying to plant the seed to let them really come to this understanding themselves.
I think we underestimate how challenging it is to get someone to change a behavior. I mean, and I think that was to Sal's point, why it took me so long to even figure this out, because like you, I have the answers. If you want to get shredded, if you want to build muscle, you want to lose a bunch of fat.
You give them a diet plan.
Yeah, I know your weight. I know what you're doing. Okay, if you follow this food that I tell you to eat, you do it. And the challenging part as a trainer, and I think why I failed for so long, is because a lot of clients want that. That's what they tell you. They say, just tell me what I need to do, Adam. Just tell me.
They get mad when you don't give them a diet plan.
That was my biggest fight for many years when I stopped giving meal plans was, I don't want to track or I don't want to do. I just want you to tell me what to do. And it became something that was mandatory. In fact, yesterday, I got a text message from an old client, friend of mine that I've helped out before with coaching. And she knows how busy we are with Mind Pump and everything. I know she listens to the show, and she goes, I'm really trying to get back into the swing of things. Could you recommend somebody else for me who will coach like you and I? And I'm like, I said, tell you what, I said, I'm not really helping anybody right now. What are you thinking? How long? When you want to start this and that? She told me all that stuff, and I said, okay. I said, well, you know what I'm going to tell you to do first, right? Doesn't fucking matter that I know you. We've done this a million times before. What am I going to tell you to do first? And she's like, okay, I'll start tracking, right? And the reason why that is, even somebody who I know, and I know her kind of habits, I don't know, I haven't seen her in over a year. I don't know what new behaviors, new habits, where she's at in her life right now, and I need to see that. And once I see that, the mistake that I used to make as a trainer before is, okay, this person's eating like shit, they're all over the board and all these things, here's the perfect meal plan. Like, no, absolutely not. Now it looks like this. I look at everything, all the shit she's fucking up, and I pick one thing that I want to try and improve, whether that be getting more fruit in the diet and more fiber, or reducing the amount of processed sugar, like Sal said, or increasing the protein intake, or getting enough healthy fats. Like, I'm going to pick one fucking thing. And I'm going to drill that home. Like, okay, this is what we're going to, your first week, keep doing what we're doing. But now what I want you to do is every day I want you to have, 1 cup of blueberries and strawberries and raspberries. Something so basic and simple for her.
Yeah, one of your big jobs as a trainer or coach or fitness professional is to help your client set their expectations. And that's huge. See, I fucked up in the beginning because I'm able to really set someone's expectations, right? So the client comes to me and I would sell them. I'd be like, look, you hire me, you do what I say, and you're going to lose the weight. Follow my lead, and you're going to get where you want. People are like, yeah, that's what I fucking want. And so I'd set their expectations. They'd follow what I did. They'd lose weight, but then, of course, they'd fall off. They'd gain the weight back, and because the behaviors didn't change, and they'd feel shitty about themselves, which makes things worse. Later on, I realized I could take all that energy and I could focus on changing their expectations in a way that's really going to benefit them in the long term. So then what I would do is I'd get clients that come to me like, I want to lose 30 pounds in 3 months. And I'd sit down and have a conversation with them. And I'd tell them what we're talking about right now. Look, we could do this the fast way. We could do this the forever way. So let's talk about the forever way. This is what it looks like. Now, here's what it's going to look like in terms of results. It's going to take you a long time. You're not going to get the results you want right away, but they're going to be permanent. And you're not going to have to keep hiring a trainer. You're not going to have to keep, getting on a new diet. You're not going to have to keep hating on yourself, because we're going to do this in the permanent way. And so expect to not lose a pound for a little while. Expect for the workouts to be mild for a little while. Don't expect yourself to come to the gym 5 days a week from zero. Right now, 2 days a week is 2 times more than you're doing before. We're going to stick with that. And trust me, that's going to be challenging. Maybe not for the first month or two, because you feel like you're so hyped and motivated right now. But I guarantee you 4, 5, 6 months from now, shit's going to pop up, and that 2 days a week is going to be difficult to stick to, but it's realistic. That's what we're going to start with. And I would set their expectations in this way, and then I would have them focus on the small wins. Yeah, you don't lose 10 pounds. However, you're squatting 5 more pounds than you were 2 weeks ago. You're able to do a push-up you couldn't do a push-up before. Hey, your sleep is a lot better now. Look at your hair. Look how you feel. Then I'd get people who would come to me and say, I went to a work event the other day, and I hadn't seen some of these coworkers in a long time, and they all complimented me and said I looked really good. I haven't lost a single pound on the scale, though. It's really weird, but people were asking me what I've been doing. I'm like, well, you're healthier. Your health shows. And people would change their expectations and start to celebrate those small wins. And then here's what ends up happening. Because when I truly figured this out as a personal trainer, this is when I'd have clients who would train with me for, at this point now, clients are training with me for 10, 12 years. If I was training today, they'd still be with me. I had clients that were with me for 15 years. 15 years straight. Now, the training changed, of course. It would start off with 3 days a week, then to 2 days a week, then 1 day a week, then one every other week, just to kind of keep them, meeting with me. But these people became extremely consistent, and now I still stay in contact with them, and they're still working out. They're still consistent. It has now become a part of their life. But here's the kicker. Some of these people didn't lose their 30 pounds or whatever for 3 years. I had one guy that took him 3 years to lose 35 pounds, but it never came back.
That's the hardest part, though. The hardest part, I think, as a trainer is to handle the clients and them constantly nagging you about that. I used to give this analogy. I get my clients to agree that the foundation and the framing of a house is the most important part of a house, right? So if we're building your dream mansion, your dream home, can we agree that the foundation that the house is going to be built on and the framework of that house is by far the most important piece of it?
Not the chandelier.
Sustaining forever, right? And then I say, when you keep asking me about when we're going to lose these 3 pounds or when you're going to look like this girl that you brought a picture in or whatever, then you keep doing that, you sound like the person. And I'm over here and I'm scraping the concrete and I'm making sure it's fucking perfect. And you're over here talking to me about the fucking curtains in the second bedroom. We're not even there yet. And we can talk about that all you want. If you want to stop what we're doing here and put all of our energy and focus on that, we can go buy all the coolest curtains in the world. But none of that shit matters if you don't lay the foundation and you don't build the framework correctly. And your body is no different. We have to lay this solid foundation and take our time on that. If we're going to take our time on anything, it's that.
Yep.
Let's take our time on really making sure that we have a solid foundation. And then you know what? Once you got that, man, you can switch your goals up. Tell me you want to jump higher. Tell me you want to run faster. Tell me you want to look like a bikini model. Tell me you want to, lift up 500 pounds off the floor. Tell me whatever else you want. Then we can spend all the time in the world chasing after all these cool goals because you get it, because we've laid our solid foundation, but we got to do that first.
Yeah, I think trainers need to realize that the reason why there's an obesity epidemic, the reason why there's a health epidemic, the reason why fitness and mobility is so terrible in people is because modern lifestyles promote that. And it's your lifestyle. This is how you have a 30-year-old person in front of you, a 20-year-old, a 40-year-old, 50-year-old person in front of you. That's how they've been living. The reason why they look the way they do and the way they feel the way they do is because that is their life. And what you're literally trying to do, so I want to put it in perspective, is you're trying to get them to completely change how they live. Good luck. That isn't going to happen tomorrow.
No, because right now they think about it as adding. They're adding something in that's going to help them, get better. And they're not thinking about changing their patterns, their lifestyle, their behaviors.
No,
that takes a lot of time.
I don't give a shit how motivating and inspiring and charismatic. Look, I can stand toe-to-toe with the most charismatic motherfuckers on earth. And I'll tell you something right now. All the charisma in the world and all the motivation in the world isn't going to get someone to instantly change lifelong behaviors forever. It's just not going to happen. It's a long process. Set the stage, make sure you set those expectations and coach them through that process. It's a slow process, but if you do it right, you will change lives for reals.
Mm-hmm. Next question is from Barbell Scott. If you build muscle with a certain type of training volume, do you need to keep that volume of training to maintain that muscle?
Good question.
It is. You know, it's funny. So when I was younger, if I laid off training intensity or diet, boy, would I lose muscle fast. I mean, it would be hard for me to stay above 190 pounds. Mm-hmm. Now, because I've built this muscle and I've had it for so long, keeping it's pretty fucking easy, to be quite honest. Mm-hmm. I don't have to fight to keep it. I have to fight to build more, but I don't have to really fight to keep it. And so what I'm starting to realize is that, you know, getting there takes a lot more work and effort. Staying there, not as much work and effort after a certain point, right? If not, I don't mean you get there and then all of a sudden like, oh, I'm here and I can fuck off.
Which, thank God, because I mean, think about how much time and effort it took to like really build yourself up to like a frame where you're like, yeah, I got some good amount of muscle on me. Like, imagine if now like every single workout was dependent on you killing like this volume or this amount of work that you constantly had to uphold to. And that's what gives me comfort, actually. Like I can scale down a bit and I'm going to be okay, and I can ramp it back up. And, you know, there's actually ways to improve and then build upon what I've built. But like you said, it's once you get there, like maintaining it isn't as challenging as, you know, the previous.
Years ago, when I had my studio, my studio used to be next to breakfast place, real popular breakfast place in Los Gatos. And so I'd see people going in and out all the time. It was a really great location because a lot of times I'd poach clients who'd be waiting for their breakfast. In fact, pro bodybuilders, a few of them would eat there. It's pretty funny. I met Phil Heath a couple times. But anyway, there was this old guy who Saturday morning, breakfast place is popping. I'm training a client. And this old guy walks in and he's kind of looking around while I'm training my client. Now, you guys know I love people in advanced age. I just have a thing for them. So I'm you know, in between sets.
Granny porn.
No.
It's weird.
Don't go that far.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm not. So I walk over to this guy, and what stood out, he's wearing a t-shirt, and he had these little fucking meaty-ass little forearms. He's a small guy. He was like 5'7". He had these meaty-ass little forearms. And I'm looking, and I go to talk to him, and he has this really thick Russian accent. And he's like, oh, you know, kettlebell. He's like, you know, how much does this weigh? And I told him, you know, it was 78 pounds. And he's like, how many kilos? And so I did the math for him. So he's like, oh, and he fucking grabs his kettlebell and he presses it with one arm above his head and he puts it back down. Yeah, he's got these muscular little forms. Then he pulls his shirt up and he flexes his bicep. And he's got this like little gun, you know, I'm like, holy shit. So I became friends with this guy, and he would come in a couple times. And at one point I had some time to sit down and talk with him. So I'm like, how often do you work out? He's like, oh, I haven't worked out in years. I'm like, what? He goes, I was an Olympic lifter for the Soviet Union. This guy was in his late 70s. And what blew me away was the amount of muscle that he kept on his body, obviously because he trained for so long. And this is when I first started to read about muscle hyperplasia. Yeah. And this is where, you know, when you build a muscle, it's called hypertrophy. A muscle fiber grows. But then there's also something called hyperplasia where you actually create new muscle fibers. And the theory goes that, you know, if you stop being active, your muscle fibers shrink back down, they atrophy. But when you build new muscle fibers, they never go away. They'll atrophy, but they'll never go away. And I think that's kind of what I've experienced now that I've worked out for so long, is that there's always a certain amount of muscle now that I'll be able to keep.
I definitely agree and think that, although I will say that, I mean, my body, I definitely fluctuate a lot. The positive is that I know that when I ramp the volume back up, I get back to that place that I was at, that I worked so hard to get to for so many years, a lot faster. But I definitely can relate to somebody who, you know, training high volume, dialed in nutritionally, feel great about yourself, and then you stop training for 6 months or whatever, and it feels like all of it goes away. Like, you definitely will feel like that, especially when you're in your first 5 years of training. And then what I notice is after 5 and then 10 and then 15 plus years of training, it starts to get easier and easier, and I attribute that to the hyperplasia. When you look at somebody like Ben Pakulski, Like, what a great example. The guy was trying
to not get rid of
right.
muscle.
He's trying to lose muscle. He was eating such a low calorie diet. He had the frequency of his training was down extremely low.
He was like 70, 80 pounds lighter than he was before.
Right.
Still extremely muscular.
Right.
Couldn't tell.
Still, still looks like a pro bodybuilder, you know, but is training to lose that muscle. So there's definitely something to be said about when you've put the time under the iron and you've been doing it for a really long time, that you do start to, build or add more muscle fibers, and then therefore, even when they shrink and go down, you still look.
It takes a long time, though. Like it's important to say that, though. Like, it takes years of training.
Yeah, no, very, 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 very long time. Yeah. That's why I wanted to make that clear. That because if you're somebody who's in their first 5 years of training, and you finally start to get some headway, you hit a new marker as far as size wise or whatever, and then you lay off, and then you go right back to square one. Like, that's fucking normal, dude. I mean, I felt that way for sure for at least the first 5 years, and then about 10 years in, I felt like, okay, when I fall off now, I looked like the better version of me when my first 5 years.
New set point.
Yeah, there's a new set point, and so I think that needle just, and it's, for somebody who's going to the gym every day, year after year, like, it's a slow grind, but. The positive side is that absolutely, I think over years and years, right now I'm training some of the lowest volume I've trained in probably 15 years. This is the amount of volume that I'm training right now is extremely low. But my physique I have way more muscle than I had, 10 years ago at my peak. So my body right now, even as crappy as it's gone in the last year, is still significantly better than what it was 10 years ago, maybe not in my peak, but 10 years ago in training and dieting and feeling pretty good. Like, I still have got more muscle.
Here's another thing too, and I'll tell a story to kind of illustrate this. I remember as a kid, I was under the belief that more is better when it came to training. And so I remember at one point I was doing 20 sets per body part, per workout. I was doing crazy amounts of volume. I was working out twice a day. I'd work out before going to school. Then I'd go to school. I'd come home, and I'd work out again. And then I remember reading about a style of training. At the time, it was called Heavy Duty. This was a book written by Mike Mentzer, where you do one set to failure per body part, and that's it. And it's way, 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 way less volume. Now, I switched to that style of training, and I built muscle. I actually gained 5 pounds. And I gained it so fast that I became a disciple of Heavy Duty way too long than I should have, of course, because it stopped working. But I stuck to it way too long, but I became like this hardcore disciple of it. And I've experienced that time, and I've experienced that with clients, where clients will come. Look, Doug is a good example. When Doug was my client, he didn't come to me as a complete beginner. He'd worked out for years and years and done all these super high volume workouts. When he worked out with me, he was working out twice a week, but he was hitting PRs and strength and muscle. So sometimes reducing your volume actually builds more muscle. If you're doing too much, then cutting it down, you'll get better results. So it's not because I know we talk a lot about increasing the volume as you become more fit and all that stuff. And it also needs to be appropriate. And many times, especially and this isn't common for most people just don't work out enough. But a lot of the hardcore fitness fanatics and, people addicted to exercise, a lot of those people, when they hire me to coach them, one of the first things I tell them is, okay, you're doing too much. Let's cut that way back. And then they report back to me like, holy shit, I'm stronger. I'm hitting new PRs. I'm building more muscles. Like, you were just doing too much, just too much. So sometimes reducing the volume is actually better for building muscle.
Next question is from Snow LVR. When meeting with a potential client, what is the best way to close them? And then they went on to say they're a rookie trainer and not so good at closing.
Oh, this is fun. Yeah. When you have a potential client, I'm assuming first and foremost, you're obviously a trainer and you're talking about you're doing an assessment. And that's how that's the process of they're talking about closing them. And I want to be clear, when I used to coach trainers on how to get clients, I would always tell them, when you first meet someone on the floor, your goal is not to sell them personal training right there. Your goal is to get them to want to come and see you for an assessment in a free session. That's when you have the time to sell them the training. Only the absolute best and absolute greatest salespeople in the world are the people that tend to sell training off the floor, and most people aren't there. And so I always tell them, make sure you get them to schedule a workout with you, and then in the workout, That's when you get to talk to them about training and get them to hire you as a trainer. When you're doing the assessment, the first half of that assessment is listening. Mm-hmm. You want to ask a lot of questions. You want to ask them about, of course, what their goals are and their history. You want to ask them about their commitment level. That's an important one. People tend to not want to go back on what they just told you earlier. So if somebody tells you on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 9, I really want to do this, this is something that's really important to me, the odds that later on in the conversation they're going to tell you, I don't know if I want to do this, is actually much lower. People hate to do that. So it's a really good way to get that person to make that commitment. Ask them about how many days a week they can work out realistically. That automatically overcomes the whole, I don't know if I could make it to the gym type of objection. Ask them if there's anything preventing them from, getting to their goals. Go through all these different things. Then take them out on the workout floor and show them some value. And the way you show them value is you show them value by doing the exercise with them, correcting form, making them feel good. But that's not enough. That's not enough. You also have to talk about what they've just witnessed and make sure that they agree that they're getting some value from it. And it's not because you're tricking them. It's because people are very unaware. They're not in their bodies, most people. So if I take somebody and we do a whole goal assessment and we talk about their goals and all that stuff, and I take them out and I look at them and I say, okay, looks like you have some forward shoulder. I'll explain what that is because I'm not going to assume they know what that means. And I'm going to say, here's a great exercise to fix that. We're going to do the exercise. I'm going to put them through the movement. Can you feel where that's working? Can you feel your shoulders loosen up? We put the bar back, have them stand up. How does your posture feel? Wow, I feel so much better. Now I'm going to make sure they really understand it. So I'm going to say something like, can you see how doing an exercise like that or working with exercise like that can fix this problem? Can you see how that'll take away some of the neck tension you've been feeling? And they'll say yes. And that's the whole process of that goal assessment, getting them to understand and talk about the value. Then you take them back, you present to them and prescribe to them your training, make sure you give them more than one option, and you recommend one of them, but leave it open and make a decision for themselves. Really, it's that simple. It really is. If you follow that process, you should find that people who book an assessment with you, at least half, if not more than half of the people will end up saying yes to hiring you for some period amount of time.
I fully agree with the assessment as being a valuable part of that process. And mainly for me, I try to get outside of the desk. So where we meet and we sit and we chat, that's great. But I always found the most effective way to get somebody interested and hooked and was to just start moving and for me to really listen and prod them with questions that were open-ended to where I could get them to keep talking. Like my goal is to get them to talk almost the entire time, so that way it's building up my understanding of really why they're there and what it is that they're trying to accomplish, where they're at in life, like what they want from the experience. But also, you do want to have them have that sense of authority in terms of like, what you're talking about. And so you'll throw in every now and then, like, Sal will bring up an example of like a postural issue that you can sort of highlight by taking them through a specific type of movement or an exercise. It just creates a dialogue between, you and the client, and it further helps them to understand that there is, some immediate things that you can help them improve, but also like start to now take what they've told you, bring it back to sit down and kind of further the conversation of how I can really help you achieve what it is that you're trying to do. And I've just found that the more I can get them to talk, the easier the close becomes, like at the end. And so that's like you just sort of take notes mentally if you have to. Sometimes I'll write things down, especially during the assessment process, to kind of reiterate. But like the most effective ones have always been like if I can get on a level where I relate to where like I'm not talking over them. I'm not like using like a whole lot of fancy words. Like I'm just trying to be like, look, this is going to be great for you. You're going to have a fun time doing it. And then it's an assumptive after that. I'll see you tomorrow, sort of thing. And then like, let's draw this up
and give a big hug.
And then, and then we kiss.
Pat him on the
every
butt.
time.
I love this shit, man. This was like one of my favorite parts in being in the profession. And the part that I liked was helping the trainers get good at this. And it's funny, I think the most common thing is they lack the confidence.
Oh gosh, that's so much.
If I could
trainers hate to ask for the money. They hate to ask for the sale.
Everything.
And when I would tell them, and this is what I'd say, you know what's so crazy? And everybody has got probably a doctor appointment story within the last year or two when you had to go see the doctor. I said, your doctor has the best closing skills ever, and you don't realize it. I said, so let's pick apart exactly your last experience in the doctor's office. You went in because you had some fucking cough or your strep throat or fucking some growth on your foot or some weird shit, right? You go in, you make your appointment, just like they would make an assessment appointment with you as a personal trainer. Nurse comes in first. What does she do? She sticks that weird doohickey in your ear. She opens your mouth up, you do that. Then they fucking hit the little thing on your knee and see you got the reflexes. You don't even know what the fuck she's doing it for. You have no idea. Like, why are they doing all this? I have a sore throat, but I'm doing this thing in my ear.
Light in my eyeball.
Right. This is part of their assessment. She's doing it. You don't ask questions. You just fucking do it. Your client's the same way. They walk in. You do a squat assessment. You think they know what the fuck a squat assessment is? Do you think they know what upper cross syndrome or lower cross syndrome? They don't know what the fuck that is. Your job is just to do that. You're doing an assessment. You're doing what you're supposed to. Then the doctor comes in, like big swinging dick the last 5 minutes. And he goes, okay, I want you to do this, take this, do that. And then he hands you a prescription. And what the fuck do? You don't ask any questions. Maybe you ask some questions. How often should I do that? Or how long? Or where do I get my refill? Or whatever, some bullshit like that. But you don't question what he tells you to do. You just fucking do it and you leave, right? You got to get that level of confidence with however you're presenting. So I don't care what you're presenting or what you're telling these clients. You've got to learn to be confident in what you're saying, and if you do, it'll transfer into that person, and it really is that easy.
Nobody wants to hire a trainer that's not confident about what they're doing.
The questions themselves.
So what I used to tell trainers is, stick to the things that you're confident in, okay? Or if you're not really, really good at being able to look at every imbalance and then talk real deep about it and understand, you're still learning all the muscles and stuff, well, then don't go crazy like that, Go take them and kind of, to Justin's point and Sal's, show them one or two things on the floor that they're going to feel and you can tell a difference. And then when you get back to the desk and you sit down, explain to them, give them an idea of how long it should take to correct these things. Or, and I like telling trainers that you stick to the easy shit, right? Like everybody you're going to see is going to have upper cross syndrome. Everybody's going to have rounded shoulders and forward head. So, okay, learn that shit. Understand what that is, okay? What muscles are tight because of it, what ones are underactive, what exercises we should do to correct that, and then understand that doesn't happen overnight, that it takes 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 weeks long to do that, and then wrap that into your prescription of what you're doing. So I go, okay, I know, Susie, you came in and you want to lose 15 pounds. Well, that's actually the easiest part of everything I'm going to teach you and do. I mean, once we dial your nutrition in, once we set all your program out, you're training correctly, the pounds are going to come off. The big thing that I'm concerned about and that I want to address along the way of reaching your goals is this upper cross syndrome, because this is going to cause problems later on for you. If you don't already deal with back pain or shoulder pain or neck pain, that's because we're not in good alignment. And what I want to do is, not only do I want to get you to your goal, but I also want to address these imbalances in your body so that not only do you get to your goal, but you also feel better. And so this is what we're going to do. In the first month, I'm going to see you 1 or 2 times a week. We're going to be addressing all these movements. We're going to be working on your nutrition. And then we're going to go to the second month. The second month, we're going to be working on...
Now you're prescribing.
Yes, I'm prescribing to you what we're going to be doing. And then the closing question literally is this. Now, Susie, my clients do this. They either, they want to see me 1 time a week, they want to see me 2 times a week, or they want to see me 3 times a week. And the way they decide on that, of course, finances are an issue for some people, and so they can't afford to go 3 times. So if that's the case, we can only do 1 time a week if you like. Ideally, most people are somewhere between 2 and 3. And the way I tell them to choose that is based off of this. If you're the type of person where you're like, Adam, tell me what to do, I'll execute, I'll follow, you're probably somebody that only needs me one time a week. Now, if you're somebody who knows you need accountability, you know you've tried this before and you've failed before and you haven't done it, and you're somebody who needs that constant attention, and you also don't want to take any risk or fuck anything up, you're probably somebody who needs to see me 3 times a week. Now, out of those 3, which one of those ones do you think you are, Susie?
And then shut your mouth.
And shut your mouth.
Yeah, and it's important. You know, something we're kind of 2 things we're kind of glazed over. First off, the reason why I used to love teaching trainers this more than teaching salespeople is because salespeople expect to have to sell. Trainers never expect to have to sell. It's like the biggest hurdle with trainers is that they're like, I just want to train people.
There's a massive disconnect.
Yeah,
there.
I just want to train people. I just want to help people. I don't want to sell anything. That's a dirty word. It's like,
you sell every second you're in the gym.
Yeah, who the fuck are you going to train then, buddy? You're going to work out by yourself. You have to learn how to communicate these things.
I also like to help that person. So, and this is what I would do. And I don't know if you're working in a big box gym where you have a boss and hopefully, or somebody who has got good skills in closing. And this is how I'd ease my trainer into it. I say, listen, you better know how to at least get on there and show people exercises, and better be able to tell them, what's wrong or not wrong with their body. I mean, if not, you need to keep reading and learning so you can at least do that. And then what I want you to do is tell them what you're going to be doing with them for the next 2 or 3 months. Don't talk about money. Turn it right over to me, and you can sit your ass down and listen to me talk about money because it's not a big fucking deal. We all work for it. We all use it. It's just a way we exchange for services. This person obviously is sitting in front of you because they need something. I'll be the one to ask for money if you're too scared to do it. And then I allow the trainer...
sit in and watch.
Yeah, to watch me ask for the money. And it is that simple. And if you do a really good job of assessing them and pointing out the things that they need help with and then prescribing what you're going to do. And don't freak out on this part. So I used to do an exercise. I used to tell trainers, I say, okay, give me a common thing that you've heard. So a client says they want to work on this, that their flabby arms or fat tire or something. I'll go, fat tire, okay? I have a fat tire program for you. And then I would write fat tire real big down the side of a piece of paper and say, the first month is F, and we're going to be focusing on the frequency of your training. And what I would do, and the point of this, I would never sell somebody on this, but the point was to teach the trainer that I could roll with whatever gets thrown at me, and I could prescribe something for that program. And so I would lay out, F is for frequency, and then a day, A is for adaptation, or whatever. And I would go through, and I would come up with a term for that.
Jeez,
then I would
thermodynamic.
Yeah, then I would
tickling.
Right, and then I would tell them what we would be doing in that month and what we'd be focusing on. And so it was just a way to practice prescribing what you as a trainer do. All the things that you provide for these clients. Learn how to wrap it in a prescription on what you're going to be doing. Paint that picture for them very clearly. And then when it comes to asking them for the money, the best thing to do is to give them options, like I said, the 1 time, the 2 time, or the 3 time a week.
Let them pick.
And then shut your mouth.
Yeah, and in practice makes perfect. So I recommend that you find your other trainer buddies or friends and have them pretend to be a potential client and practice and practice and practice because you will get better. You will suck.
Keep making calls, man. Yep. That's the thing. Always be on the phone getting new leads.
And the other thing, too, is, we talk about sitting down at the desk, asking them questions, leaving, going out to the workout floor, coming back to the desk. That's very important, okay? It's much harder to sell someone anything standing up on the workout floor, and it's going to be very difficult to bring them back to the desk if they weren't at the desk to start with. Because here's what ends up happening. I remember I used to see trainers doing this. They'd meet a client at the front desk. Oh, hi, Susie. Boom. They take them out on the workout floor. Then at the end, they try and walk them back to the desk. What do you think the client's thinking? Oh, here we go. Now you're going to sell. But if you start out at the desk and then you leave and then you go back, it's much, much more friendly. It's not as bad. Look, at the end of the day, here's the thing. Remember this. If you could get that person sitting across from you to understand what you understand about fitness, to understand about the changes that they're going to make in their lives with fitness and how life-changing they truly are, if you can get them to understand those things, will anybody ever really say no to you?
If you're really that passionate about helping them, they'll feel it.
Nobody will ever say no. I used to, think about it this way. Look, it's all about perceived value. If I was selling a pencil for, $100,000, I would never sell a single pencil. If that was a house in Silicon Valley, I'd have people bidding. There'd be bidding wars over it. Same amount of money. All of a sudden, people have $100,000 to spend. If you're selling a package of training for $900, $1,000, $3,000, and they really understand what you know about fitness, they're going to do it. It'll make sense and they'll find the value. So that's really what sales is all about, is communicating effectively, getting that person to understand what you understand about fitness, to understand the real changes that they're going to experience and the true value that they're going to get out of it. And believe me, more often than not, you're not going to get the objection where people say, I don't have enough money to invest in my health. Look, if you go to mindpumpfree.com, you can download any of our guides for free. We've got tons of guides on there.
Didn't you write a good one on how to be a great trainer too?
I did, actually. Great. Yeah, I did write on how to basically build a business as a personal trainer. And a lot of the sales techniques and how to talk to people is in that guide. And it's free. You can find it again at mindpumpfree.com. And you can also find our own personal social media Instagram pages with our own unique content. Justin can be found at Mind Pump Justin. My page is Mind Pump Sal, and Adam is Mind Pump Adam.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.